The echo of return. Deep within the celestial monitoring station Omega-9, Lieutenant Zix 427 was having what would generously be called the most mundane shift of his career. His crystalline appendages moved methodically across the quantum displays, performing the same routine checks they had for the past 3 centuries. The station, positioned in what was once Earth's orbital path, served as a memorial and monitoring post for one of the greatest mysteries in galactic history. "Another cycle, another void," he muttered to his station partner, Commander Naira, a being of pure energy contained within an advanced environmental suit. She pulsed in agreement, her azure form shifting patterns in what Zix had learned to recognize as boredom. 1,000 years of nothing, Naira responded, her voice resonating through the station's communication field. "Sometimes I wonder why we still maintain this post. Earth isn't coming back." The disappearance of an entire planet, especially one that had shown such promise, had shocked the galactic community. Earth had vanished without a trace, taking with it billions of humans and their peculiar, chaotic potential. The few human colonies that existed off-world at the time had been devastated, becoming nomadic communities among the stars. Zix was about to respond when his sensors erupted in a cascade of alerts. The quantum displays flashed with readings that shouldn't be possible. His crystalline structure vibrated with shock, creating a harmonic resonance that filled the station. "By the first light," he gasped, his voice cracking. "Naira, are you seeing this?" The energy being had already expanded, her form encompassing multiple monitoring stations at once. "Impossible! The quantum signatures, they're identical to the historical records." The void that had existed where Earth once orbited was showing signs of something. Space itself seemed to be folding, unfolding, and refolding in ways that defied the laws of physics. The station's sensors were registering temporal anomalies, spatial distortions, and energy readings that made Zix's scientific training scream in protest. "Alert the Council," Naira commanded, her energy form pulsing with urgency. "Priority Alpha, this is not a drill." As Zix transmitted the emergency signal, the impossible continued to unfold before them. In the vast emptiness where Earth had once been, particles of light began to dance and swirl. The vacuum of space itself seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting like a cosmic lung. Then, in a moment that would be recorded in every history book across the galaxy, it happened. Earth materialized. Not with a bang, not with a flash, but with a gentle ripple that belied the monumental nature of its return. The blue planet, exactly as it had been a millennium ago, simply was there again. "Secondary confirmation required," Zix stated automatically, his training kicking in despite his shock. His sensors swept the planet, analyzing every detail. "Atmospheric composition matches historical records, geological formations identical. It's as if it never left." Naira's energy form had condensed to its smallest state, a sign of intense concentration. "Look at the readings from the surface. The humans, they're still there, but something's different." The sensors showed human civilization continuing as if no time had passed, but the readings suggested advancements far beyond what Earth had possessed before its disappearance. Cities that seemed to merge seamlessly with their environments, energy signatures that suggested technology centuries ahead of their previous development, and most intriguingly, quantum patterns that hinted at a fundamental understanding of the universe that even the most advanced galactic civilizations were only beginning to grasp. They experienced time, Zix realized, his crystalline structure pulsing with excitement. Wherever Earth was, time didn't stop for them. They continued to evolve, to advance. The first responses from the Galactic Council were already pouring in. Ships from every major civilization were being dispatched. Political analysts, scientific experts, and diplomatic teams were being assembled. The return of Earth wasn't just an astronomical phenomenon. It was about to reshape the entire galactic political landscape. As Zix and Naira continued their monitoring, a transmission suddenly cut through all their communications channels. Its origin, Earth. The message was simple, but its implications were staggering. "To all galactic civilizations, we know you have questions, so do we. But first, we need to warn you about what's coming. The reason for our disappearance? It's about to happen again, but this time to everyone. We've spent 1,000 years preparing for this moment. The question is, are you ready to listen? Zix and Naira exchanged what passed for glances between their species. In all their years of monitoring the empty space where Earth once was, they had prepared for many possibilities. But this, a returned Earth with a warning about the fate of the galaxy, was not one of them. The next few hours would determine not just the future of Earth, but the survival of every civilization in the galaxy. And somehow, humanity, the species that had vanished for a millennium, seemed to be the only ones who knew what was coming. Guardians of the Lost. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council had never been this crowded. Representatives from over 1,000 civilizations packed the massive chamber, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of evolution itself. At the center of this unprecedented gathering stood High Admiral Vexter of the Temporal Defense Force, his bioluminescent scales shifting between shades of deep purple and electric blue as he processed the latest reports. "The human delegation will be arriving shortly," announced First Speaker Maris, her holographic form simultaneously present in all corners of the hall. "I remind everyone that this is a diplomatic mission. We are here to understand, not to accuse." The massive doors of the chamber parted, and 3 humans entered. Their appearance caused a ripple of murmurs through the assembly. These weren't the primitive beings from historical records. They moved with a quiet confidence that seemed to bend reality around them. Their clothing, if it could be called that, seemed to shift and adapt to the environment, like living material that thought for itself. "I am Director Alara Phoenix," the central figure announced, her voice carrying effortlessly across the vast chamber. "With me are quantum architect Marcus Blackwood and temporal specialist Jun Nakamura. We represent the Terran Continuity Council." High Admiral Vexter's scales flashed with curiosity. "Terran Continuity Council? We have no records of such an organization." Ilara's smile held secrets of 1,000 years. "That's because we didn't exist before Earth's displacement. We were formed during what we call the Long Night, the millennium that our world spent elsewhere." Marcus Blackwood stepped forward, his dark skin contrasting with eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. "During our displacement, we discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about reality. The universe isn't just expanding, it's being consumed." The chamber erupted in chaos. Hundreds of species trying to speak at once created a cacophony that threatened to overwhelm the hall's acoustic dampeners. First Speaker Maris's holographic form pulsed with authority, restoring order. Jun Nakamura, his movements precise and deliberate, activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. "What you're seeing is a quantum temporal map of our galaxy. The dark areas represent regions where the fundamental forces of reality are breaking down." The map showed spreading zones of nothingness, areas where the very fabric of space-time was unraveling. The pattern was clear. These zones were expanding, consuming everything in their path. "Earth wasn't randomly displaced," Alara continued. "We were moved, protected by them." She gestured to the ceiling, and suddenly everyone could see them. Massive beings of pure energy, so ancient they made stars look young in comparison. They had been there all along, invisible to normal perception. "We call them the Architects," Marcus explained. "They've been fighting this battle for billions of years across countless galaxies. They chose Earth because they saw something in humanity, our chaos, our creativity, our stubborn refusal to accept impossibility." Jun stepped forward. "During our 1,000 years away, they taught us, helped us evolve, not just technologically, but fundamentally as a species. We learned to see reality for what it truly is, not a fixed set of laws, but a canvas of infinite possibilities." High Admiral Vexter's scales had settled into a deep indigo of concern. "You speak of these architects as saviors, yet they abducted your entire world without warning or consent." "Because there wasn't time," Alara responded. "The void was coming for Earth first. We were the test case, the proof that a planet and its civilization could be preserved. Now we have to do the same for every world in the galaxy." The holographic display shifted, showing a massive network of quantum corridors and temporal safe havens. This is the preservation network, Marcus explained. A system capable of moving entire solar systems into protected space. But it requires something that only humanity has developed, the ability to manipulate quantum uncertainty on a massive scale. We spent a millennium learning how to dance with chaos, Jun added. Now we have to teach the galaxy to dance with us or everything ends, not just life but reality itself. First speaker Maris's holographic form flickered thoughtfully. You're asking us to trust the fate of every civilization in the galaxy to a species that vanished for 1,000 years. Ilara's expression remained calm, but her eyes held the weight of centuries. No, we're asking you to trust in your own potential. Humanity didn't just survive the long night, we transcended it. Every species in this room has the same capacity. The architects saw it in us, and we see it in you. Above them, the energy beings pulsed with ancient power, their presence both reassuring and terrifying. They were the guardians who had watched over humanity's transformation, and now they waited to see if the galaxy was ready to follow the same path. The future of all existence hung in the balance, and the clock was ticking. The void was approaching, hungry for reality itself. And humanity, once considered a primitive species on a backwater planet, now stood as the bridge between the galaxy's present and its only possible future. The quantum displacement. In the depths of the Terran science vessel, Prometheus, quantum architect Marcus Blackwood stood before a diverse group of the galaxy's brightest minds. The ship's quantum observation chamber hummed with energy as representatives from 30 different species gathered around a central holographic display. What you're about to see, Marcus began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment, is the actual footage of Earth's displacement from 1,000 years ago. The architects preserved this record, knowing we would need it to understand what we're facing. The hologram sparked to life, showing Earth as it was a millennium ago. Chief Scientist Zylara of the Andromeda Collective leaned forward, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns of intense concentration. Beside her, Professor Kine of the Centaurian Academy adjusted his gravity stabilizers for a better view. The footage showed a typical day on Earth until it wasn't. A wave of pure darkness began eating away at the edges of reality itself. But before it could touch the planet, something extraordinary happened. Space itself seemed to fold around Earth, creating a pocket of reality separate from normal space-time. The void, Marcus explained, is not just absence. It's anti-reality. It doesn't just destroy, it unmakes. The architects had been tracking its progression across multiple galaxies for eons. Earth was directly in its path. Dr. Venra, a being of pure thought encased in an environmental field, pulsed with curiosity. But why Earth? There were thousands of inhabited worlds in that sector. Marcus gestured, and the hologram shifted to show complex quantum equations that seemed to write themselves in the air. Because of this, humanity's brain patterns, our very consciousness, generates quantum fluctuations that are different. We don't just observe quantum states, we influence them by our very nature. The display showed neural scans of various species, but the human pattern stood out. Where others showed ordered, predictable quantum interactions, human consciousness created cascading waves of possibility. We don't think in straight lines, Marcus continued. Our minds jump between possibilities, create connections that shouldn't exist, imagine things that can't be. This chaos, this creativity, it's not just psychological. It has a quantum effect on reality itself. Zylara's crystalline form vibrated with realization. The void. It operates on pure certainty. It collapses all quantum states into absolute zero, but human consciousness. Exactly, Marcus smiled. We keep the quantum states uncollapsed. Our very nature resists the void's attempt to reduce reality to nothingness. The architects didn't just save us, they needed us. The hologram now showed the 1,000 years of Earth's absence, compressed into a few minutes. The planet existed in a bubble of warped space-time, while the architects taught humanity to harness their unique relationship with quantum reality. Professor Kine's gravity stabilizers whirred as he processed this information. But surely 1,000 years wasn't necessary for this education. Time worked differently in the displacement, Marcus explained. What was 1,000 years to the galaxy was much longer for us. We lived through millions of years of subjective time, evolving, learning, becoming something new. The architects compressed time itself, giving us the epochs we needed to understand our role. The display showed humanity's transformation, cities that grew like living things, technology that blurred the line between thought and reality, humans who had learned to consciously manipulate quantum probability. But now, Marcus's voice grew grave, the void has evolved too. It's learning, adapting, finding new ways to unmake reality. Our return isn't just about warning you, it's about teaching you how to survive what's coming. Dr. Venra's thought form pulsed with concern. You mean to give us this power, this quantum consciousness? It's already there, Marcus revealed, bringing up new scans. In every species, dormant but present, human consciousness just evolved to access it first. We spent our exile learning how to awaken it in others. Every species in this room has the potential to become what we have become. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just returned with a warning, they had come back with the key to evolution itself. But time was running out. The void was approaching, larger and more voracious than ever. Marcus's final words echoed through the chamber. The question isn't whether you can learn what we have to teach. The question is, can you learn it fast enough? Because this time, when the void comes, it's coming for everything. And we only get one chance to save not just our galaxy, but all of reality itself. Above them, unseen by most but felt by all, the architects watched and waited. They had gambled everything on humanity's chaotic potential. Now, that gamble would determine the fate of existence itself. Legacy of the Wanderers. The observation deck of the Stellar Academy's main tower offered a panoramic view of New Terra, one of the few human colonies that had survived Earth's disappearance. Director Ilara Phoenix stood with Admiral Thex of the Galactic Defense Fleet, watching as vessels from 100 worlds moved through the sky like schools of mechanical fish. You should have seen this place a century ago, Thex rumbled, his reptilian features softening with memory. A handful of survivors clinging to hope. We offered them sanctuary, but they refused to be absorbed into other civilizations, stubborn to the last. Ilara's eyes tracked a particular ship, the Quantum Dawn, humanity's first successful reality-warping vessel. Stubbornness kept us alive. The colonies didn't just survive, they evolved in their own way. Below them, the city was a testament to that evolution. While Earth had developed under the architect's guidance, the colonies had forged their own path. Buildings seemed to grow from the ground like crystal formations, their surfaces adapting to environmental conditions. Citizens, both human and alien, moved through streets that rearranged themselves based on traffic patterns. Commander Rook reports that the first phase is complete, Ilara announced, her neural implants projecting data into the air between them. 50 worlds have successfully undergone the quantum awakening process. Thex's scales shifted color with concern. And the casualties? None, Ilara smiled. That's what the 1,000 years taught us, how to safely guide consciousness through the quantum barrier. The colonies learned it the hard way. We lost entire generations to failed experiments. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert. The sky above New Terra rippled with distortion as reality itself seemed to hiccup. For a moment, everyone in the city froze, watching as space twisted in impossible ways. It's starting, Ilara whispered. The void is testing our defenses. Emergency protocols activated across the city. Buildings shifted, their structures realigning to create quantum resonance patterns. Citizens who had undergone the awakening process instinctively linked their consciousness, creating a web of quantum stability. Fascinating, Thex observed. Your people respond to crisis not by running or fighting, but by creating. Creation is our defense, Ilara explained. The void unmakes, we remake. It's why the colonies survived. They learned to build faster than disaster could destroy. A holographic representation of Jun Nakamura appeared beside them. Director, we're detecting similar distortions across the galaxy. The void is probing, looking for weaknesses. How many worlds are ready? Thex demanded. Not enough, Jun's hologram flickered with worry. We need at least 60% of inhabited worlds to achieve quantum consciousness for the network to function. We're barely at 30. Ilara's expression hardened. Then we adapt. Show me the colonial archives. The air filled with records of how the scattered human colonies had survived the millennium of Earth's absence. Each settlement had developed unique solutions to impossible problems. One colony had learned to phase their entire population out of normal space-time during void incursions. Another had developed technology that could rewrite local physics. There, Ilara pointed to a particular record. The Hyperion solution. When the void threatened their system, they didn't try to fight it. They invited it in. Thex's scales bleached white with shock. That's suicide. No, Ilara's eyes gleamed. It's evolution. They created a controlled environment where they could study the void, understand it. They lost half their world, but what they learned. She paused, calculations running behind her eyes. We can use this. Jun's hologram expanded, showing new simulations. A galactic trap. We can't stop the void from entering our reality, but we can choose where it enters. And we have bait it can't resist, Ilara added. Earth, the world that escaped it once. The void has something almost like consciousness. It remembers its failures. Thex studied the plans forming in the air around them. You're suggesting we use Earth as bait, your own homeworld. Earth was never just a world. Ilara's voice carried the weight of centuries. It's a symbol of defiance against the inevitable. The colonies proved that humanity isn't defined by a single planet. We're defined by our ability to face the impossible and find another way. The sky rippled again, more violently this time. Reality groaned under the pressure of the void's attention. But this time, something was different. The citizens of New Terra didn't panic. Instead, they began to create. Art appeared spontaneously in the streets. Musicians played impossible harmonies. Children drew pictures that bent light in strange ways. You see, Ilara gestured to the scene below. This is what the colonies taught us. In the face of oblivion, we create, we imagine, we dream, and in doing so, we strengthen the very fabric of reality itself. Thex watched in amazement as the quantum distortions began to stabilize, pushed back by the sheer force of creative consciousness. Perhaps, he admitted, there is hope after all. Hope, Ilara smiled. Admiral, we're way past hope. We're into certainty now. The void thinks it's hunting us. It's about to learn what 1,000 years of evolution really means. Earth was just the beginning. The real story, it's about what humanity became when we lost everything except our determination to survive. The convergence. The command center of Earth's quantum defense matrix hummed with tension. Marcus Blackwood stood at the central console, surrounded by holographic displays showing the void's approach from 1,000 different quantum perspectives. Beside him, Jun Nakamura monitored the status of their galactic trap, while Ilara Phoenix coordinated with representatives from across the galaxy. The void will reach critical proximity in 17 minutes, Jun announced, his fingers dancing through streams of data. All participating worlds report quantum consciousness levels at optimal range. Through the quantum network, they could feel the combined consciousness of trillions of beings, all focused on a single purpose. The colonies had taught the galaxy how to harness their innate quantum potential, and now that knowledge would face its ultimate test. The architects are in position, Marcus reported, watching as the ancient beings took their places around the galaxy's spiral arms. Their energy forms created a lattice of pure possibility, ready to channel the combined power of every awakened mind. Ilara's voice carried across the quantum link to every participating world. Remember your training. Don't fight the void, dance with it. Reality isn't rigid. It's a song we all sing together. The void appeared first as a darkening of space itself, a cancellation of possibility that spread like ink through water. But this time, instead of running or hiding, humanity and their galactic allies were ready. Now, Marcus commanded. Earth, positioned exactly where the void expected it, began to glow with quantum potential. But it wasn't just Earth. Every colony, every world that had learned from humanity's thousand-year exile, lit up like beacons across space. The void, drawn by what it perceived as weakness, surged forward. "It's taking the bait," Jun confirmed. "Quantum matrices holding steady." The void struck Earth first, expecting to find the same world it had failed to consume a millennium ago. Instead, it found something entirely new. The combined consciousness of humanity, evolved through both the architect's guidance and colonial hardship, met its advance with creativity rather than resistance. "Phase 2, Ilara ordered. Across the galaxy, billions of minds shifted their focus. Artists created masterpieces that bent reality. Musicians played symphonies that rewrote quantum harmonics. Children dreamed dreams that became real. Every act of creation strengthened the fabric of existence itself. The void, for the first time in its eternal existence, hesitated. "Now we show it what humanity really learned during our exile," Marcus said, initiating the final sequence. "We didn't just learn to survive, we learned to transform." The trap snapped shut, not with violence or force, but with possibility. Every quantum-awakened mind in the galaxy focused on a single thought, not destruction, but transformation. The void, drawn into their carefully crafted web of consciousness, found itself surrounded not by the reality it sought to unmake, but by pure potential. "We are the children of Earth," Ilara's voice resonated through the quantum network, addressing the void itself. "But we are also the heirs of 1,000 years of wandering. We learned that home isn't a place, it's the ability to make any place home. Reality isn't fixed, it's what we choose to make of it. Even you, great void, are not our enemy but our canvas." The void's darkness began to change. Where it touched the quantum network, it didn't destroy, it transformed. The nothingness became something else, pure possibility, unformed but waiting to be shaped. "By the first light," Jun whispered, watching the readings. "We're not just stopping it, we're changing its fundamental nature." The architects, watching from their positions across the galaxy, pulsed with what might have been approval. Their gamble on humanity's potential had paid off in ways even they hadn't foreseen. Across every world, every colony, every outpost of life, beings watched in awe as the void that had threatened all existence became something new. The darkness that consumed reality became a source of infinite possibility, a canvas for the combined creativity of all conscious beings. 1,000 years ago," Marcus addressed the watching galaxy, "Earth vanished and humanity was scattered among the stars. We thought it was our end. Instead, it was our beginning. We learned that the greatest threat to existence isn't destruction, it's the fear of change." The void, once the enemy of all reality, now danced with the quantum consciousness of countless worlds. It had sought to unmake existence, but instead, existence had remade it. Ilara smiled, watching as the transformed void began to pulse with new life. "And that's the greatest lesson humanity learned in our exile. The end of one story is always the beginning of another. We just have to be brave enough to write it." Across the galaxy, a new age dawned. The void that had threatened to end everything had become the source of infinite new beginnings. Humanity, once a primitive species on a single world, had evolved into the teachers of the galaxy. And reality itself had been transformed, not through force or resistance, but through the simple, profound human ability to imagine something better and make it real. The 1,000-year exile was over, but its legacy would echo through eternity. Earth had returned, humanity had evolved, and the galaxy had learned that in the face of oblivion, the most powerful force in existence was the ability to dream of something new.